You're such an asshole!
Old Cappy is paying for taking the weekend off. I dared to go hiking, spend time with the GF. All this work is adding up. Oh, remember the days, Cappy, when you would bang out 100 hours a week? Those were not good times. Those are not good times. Oh, good Lord, no. Oh, my captain, I found your channel a couple weeks ago and been watching your videos since. Good, tell all your friends. Seriously, share, spread the word. I don't want to work forever. I want to do my work now so I don't have to work forever. Ordered 6 of your books. That's a good man, John. That's a very, as everybody should. Captain Capitalism. Which one? There's 3 backup books with Captain Capitalism. The Curse of the High IQ. Enjoy the Decline. Reconnaissance Man. Worthless. Batch of Bad Economics. And paperback. Just prior to writing this email, looking forward to reading them. I'm requesting a video on isolation. What role isolation plays in the life of a minimalist. What things to filter out in order to remain sane and content, and how to balance this to still have a functioning social life. Oh, man. I don't mind answering the same question over and over again when it's this question, because I don't have the answer. This is a frontier that I think a lot of minimalists, especially MGTOWs, legitimate ones, and I hate to go into the MGTOW world, but there are legitimate MGTOWs where if you get rid of women, like you truly are not chasing after women no more, okay? You're not doing that anymore. Or you chase after them minimalistically, and as I define MGTOWs, you reprioritize women to about 6th or 7th or 10th place behind actually living life. You save so much time and resources and energy, especially if you don't have kids. And then if you are a minimalist, you don't need that much money on top of it anyway. And the problem is you have a surplus of time. And that's not a bad problem to have. But when you combine it with a minimalist philosophy and a pro-human, like humans are the most important thing in life philosophy, and you realize that most people are not minimalists, the materialists, even your friends who claim to be minimalists, and oh yeah, you're right, humans are the most, what do? They go fucking sign up for a lease on a new vehicle, get a McMansion, they go up in the student loan debt, and you're like, you're not a minimalist. You know, you're not here, you're not part of this team. So the actual world of minimalists is very small. So the paradox you then face is you have this inordinate amount of time. Adequate money, I don't want to say inordinate amount of money, but since you don't have expensive taste, you don't demand much in life, you have a powerful budget to go and do some really cool things. And if you're like me, I think the most expensive thing I do now is golf. That is the most expensive thing I do. But otherwise, everything else I do is kind of free. Like, I go to the coffee store and sip on coffee. Okay, well, that's $3 or whatever. I then go for hiking. Hiking is something I love a lot, but that's free. Okay, shoes or whatever, all right. And yeah, man, I wish I had the answer. I wish, but we're at a frontier that human existence has not been to before. Only truly rich and wealthy people who had pampered and cozy lives have made it to this place before. And usually they're too busy protecting that position from being usurped by their brother or some threat to the throne or some other crap like that. This point where an increasing percent of the population is in a post-materialist world. We haven't been here before. There's not many pioneers that have come through before. I am one of them. I don't mean to sound arrogant and cocky. I am one of them. But I still don't have the answer. Still don't have the answer. So I'll try and answer this best I can, but keep in mind, the answers are still out there, and some of them may be very defeatist and simply accepting. You know, a meteorite's going to hit the Earth. Well, we can get pissed off about it, but it's going to hit the Earth, and we're all going to die. So it could be something like that. So let's go through the rest of your question. What role isolation plays in the life of a minimalist? What things to filter out in order to remain sane and content, and how to balance this with still having a functioning social life? Some topics I'd like you to cover in terms of isolation are technology, social media, and occupation. Just some thoughts and experiences on how to best shield yourself from general bullshit that will come from living life in a developed country. Finally, do you think we as an intelligent people would be better off and happier moving to an Italian village that doesn't have the internet, sitting outside a cafe, sipping lattes and playing chess? Not most modern day people, no. All right, let's go through these questions one by one. What role isolation plays in the life of the minimalist? The role in isolation plays in the life of the minimalist is it's factual. It's not debatable. You are going to be isolated, at minimally in terms of your financial philosophy. There are going to be very few actual financial economic minimalists out there. Now, that will lead to the problems I talked about before, where you have a surplus of time and a dearth, a lack of needed expenses, which results in this maximum amount of freedom. But as I've said before, humans are the most important thing in the world, but there aren't going to be enough humans to keep up. I did a video not too long ago about the three things people don't have. They do not have all three things. They do not have enough time, they do not have enough money, they do not have enough energy. And that's the route, more than every minimalist out there, that's the route that you're going to go, especially if you stay in shape, and you need some kind of social life. If you're a true hermit and can read, then isolation is your friend. But most people I don't think are that way. So that is the overall role, the main role that isolation is going to play, is there's just so few people that are going to be at that final destination that you get there as a minimalist. The other things that minimalism will isolate you is people you're going to get along with that are important in your life. I got a client, they got budget issues because wifey poo just won't stop spending the fucking money. And I wish I was being stereotypical, I'm not. It's like, well, go talk to your wife and learn to get a fucking budget together. No, won't do it. You're just not going to find, because in ever so general terms, this is painting with a very broad brush. Women consume resources, men produce resources. But that's how it was. Women would be pregnant and have kids, and they would need resources, because it wasn't just the wife, it'd be the kids too. And then the guy would go get the resources, and that's how it would work. So this was not malicious or parasitic. This was the deal. So it is, I would say, genetically, biologically, psychologically programmed into women to look for a guy with resources. And so then when a guy says, no, we're minimalists, that does not jive well with their genetic code. I remember one time I went on a date with this girl, and I was driving a GTI Golf, which was a fine vehicle. I think the nicest car I ever owned, frankly, because it was only about 5 or 6 years old. It was a good, reliable car until it fell apart, and German parts are insanely expensive. This was a perfectly fine car. And her friend, the girl I dated, her friend called me up, says, hey, I know, she was trying to help me out. Hey, I know you, but you need a nicer car. I'm like, what? One, I don't have the money. Two, what's wrong with this car? This is a very nice car. You're just not going to find, or not, you're not just going to find. It's going to be hard to find a woman that wants to be a minimalist. For guys. For women, if you're a minimalist, then I don't know if you'd be isolated. I think you'd have a surplus of men being more than happy to meet you. But from a men's perspective, yeah, being a minimalist, you gotta explain. I've seen men do it before. I've done it before. Why explain to a woman, my goal is freedom. My goal is to get the damn house paid off. My goal is to get our budgets down, airtight the house, so that when we have X amount of money saved up, we're done. We're retired in South Dakota. We're sipping coffee. We're golfing. We're hiking. We're doing all this other stuff. Some women will listen to that. Some spouses will get on board with that and realize that their spouse should be the most important person in their life, and spending time with them is the most important thing. But they're far and few between. So in a dating matrimonial sense, you'll be a minimalist as well. Philosophy, especially when you're younger, the number of people when you're younger, that especially guys that want, dude, bro, let's go party Vegas, yeah, woo, all that kind of stuff. Traveling, which I'm not necessarily against though. But people, when they get out of school, finally they want to go and party because they've never had any fun. So I can understand it, but the brand name culture, like, oh, you need this type of, oh, you need that, oh, look at that crappy car. Oh, I need these type of clothes. I need those type of clothes. And I've seen this a lot in millennials. Okay, they don't make a lot of money, but they're all about prestige and status. An example of an insane anti-minimalist pissing away of money, where you'll also be alone. Every young person wants to go live in New York, LA, Silicon Valley, and pay ass-raping rates in rent. I'm almost no longer delineating between a tax and rent, because your rents are driven up by insane leftist policies. But neither here nor there. The addiction to prestige or status, not necessarily money, ends up costing people and eliminating philosophical minimalists from your life. So you'd be like, oh, what if I wanted to live in a small, quiet Italian village? Dude, man, you don't have the restaurants we do in San Jose. You don't have the restaurant. Oh, dude, you just don't get it. We're in LA. It's like, oh, just shut the... I mean, I knew it was bullshit in the 80s. So isolation will play there. You're just taking the path really less traveled and totally not advertised, if not mocked and ridiculed in life by the normies, conformies, and inferiors. So I would say isolation doesn't play a role. It's going to be a fact. It's an environment you're in. And I would get used to being by yourself. I remember college, it was school and work. And work, it was great when we were in check-in and check-out because all the guys were there. But you patrol for fucking 8, 10, 12, 16 hours by your goddamn self in the middle of the fucking, well, TCF Stadium's there now, but it used to just be a parking lot. You're walking there December 23rd, 4 a.m., it's snowing cold, and you're making sure that the cars aren't getting broken in. I mean, you better be used to being lonely. The path less traveled does not have a lot of people on it. So there's that. What things to filter out in order to remain sane and content? Well, I think if you're already going down the path of minimalism, you are sane, and you will be content at first. But then it's going to get boring. You're going to get pissed off, and maybe not. Maybe this is just me, but you're going to be exasperated with the rest of society, where it's like, what the fuck, people? And people will say, oh, you've gone down that path, and it's like, no, you're all complaining about money and not enough time and divorce, and you're not loving each other. You're not spending time with one another. You have no social life. It's all show. You're right. You're the one that's right. So to keep sane, I would say you're the one that's right. You're the one that's not up to your eyeballs in mortgages. You're not the one that has to be a wage slave. Because for every time I'm like, damn, I wish there was someone to go hiking with, I could say, damn, I could be in the office looking at a goddamn computer screen, yelling and ramming heads with a fucking baby boomer boss. And okay, I guess I'll just shut the fuck and go hike, because right now, those suckers in the Twin Cities is going to be minus 20. Minus 25! And then it's like, maybe I should just shut the fuck up and go golf. So you got to kind of keep anchoring yourself back to like, okay, I've made these sacrifices. I'm not a materialist. And you'll start taking the benefits that are conferred upon you for that life for granted. You won't notice they're there. And you need to be reminded, like, oh, and Chad Elkins did this. He would go and work for an employer, even though he was self-employed and gainfully so. He didn't need the extra money. I'm like, why are you doing that? He says, so I'm reminded of what it's like, so I appreciate what I got. And there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for that, to occasionally going and visiting back normie world to remind yourself of the pain and suffering. It's coming up on 9 years. I've not answered to an HR bitch. I haven't had an interview with an HR bitch in about 9 years. Coming up on 8, I haven't worked a job for anyone else, a real job. And you start to forget what it was like. And so I think one of the things to keep sane is to know that you are right. But if you ever start wondering or questioning whether the path of minimalism is right or correct, you go down the path, revisit the town of materialism. Go back to LA, go back to New York. My name's Tina, and I have my master's in creative writing, and I live on the Upper East Side in this fabulous flat. Oh my goodness. Now, I may have student loan debts, and I may be seeking an arrangement so I can afford rent here, and and then maybe, I'm actually just drinking wine, and I really don't write anything. I got to worry about where my next paycheck is, and half the websites I write for don't even pay me, but I get prestige, but I am so amazing. And go back to that life. Don't look at what she's saying. Look at the real world. Oh, wow. Okay. I remember what starvation and poverty was like. I remember. So that's what I would say to remain sane, is to remind yourself occasionally of what the normies, conformies, and inferiors are doing in materialism land. How to balance this to still have a functioning social life. That's the problem, man. Let's talk about out of that triple threat energy. When you are young, you will be misled to think that your friends will be there forever. And the reason you'll be misled to think that is because they have the energy. The biggest killer of, I think, a social life is not the money or the time, though they certainly play roles, but I think it's energy. Because I have friends, I do not believe for a second my friends, well, I know that they can afford it and they have the time, but I don't believe for a second it's like, oh, I've pissed them off or insulted, although I've done that too, unfortunately. But it's not like, oh, they hate Clary. Oh, no one wants to hang out with Clary anymore. No, they're tired. That's what it is. I mean, I got a friend, unless it's 4 hours, 4 miles from where she lives, she won't come out. You're talking to a guy that'll drive 1,500 miles. I drove, what was it? There's an iron butt thing, but I didn't sign up for it. Whatever the distance is between Minneapolis and Regina, I drove that. And I think that's just shy of 1,000. That's on a bike. I'll drive 1,500 miles in a vehicle because it's warm and comfy and I enjoy it. It's the energy. That is going to be the biggest torpedo of several that'll be slammed into your USS social life. And there's really not much you can do about it. Some people would say, I'd argue there's a case for this, is finding a spouse. Doesn't have to be husband or wife, but a significant other that you truly like and have their company with. That's super hard too. I'm just telling you what the solution is. One possible solution. Another thing is that you really work hard on your social solution and you're constantly getting new blood in of friends. Because friends come and go, and there's nothing untowards or bad about it. They just get married and they get kids and you never see them again, or they move, career. But that's what happens. And you got to get a new supply of friends in. As you get older, another problem will be is the people that have the energy are the 20-somethings. Nothing wrong with that, but the 20-somethings. Soon you're twice their age, or you got 10 or 15 years on them, and you're like, no, I don't want to do, bro, and go drink. I don't want to go to Vegas and go to the Strip. No, I don't want to go to beach and look at girls. Let's have conversation. Let's go for a run. Let's exercise. It's farther between that. So I would be looking at meetup groups. I go to 3 or 4 different meetup groups. There's a bowling libertarian group. There's the Dungeons and Dragons group. I may even join a golf league. If you are a religious person, that'll help out as well a lot. Join your church or your synagogue or your cathedral or whatever. Become active in that. But it is almost a part-time job, just maintaining your social life as you get older. And what I've learned is if you're pulling teeth, you got to let go, because you're going to waste more time, energy, and you'll become demoralized trying to get people who were and still are your friends who once went out to go out and do something and interact in meet space, and they don't. Then you're like, damn it, why don't they? Oh. It gets tiring, I won't lie to you. And the older you get, the less energy you got to do that stuff. So that's another thing you can maintain your social life. But honestly, this is where the meteorite hits the planet. There is no solution. You're just going to have to deal with a lesser social life. Some people have recommended going to school. You could try and do that. I'm kicking around going back to working, but completely on my terms, part-time, and only what I want to do. I was thinking about used car salesmen because, hey, how you doing? I get to talk to people. What do you want? You want a shitty Golf GTI? I got just the car for you. Girls will like you. So that's something else that you can do. And then all of a sudden work doesn't become work for the sake of money. It's just like you're doing it for Lester Burnham. You're going in just to talk to kids. You're just doing it to interact and have fun. So now more specific. Some topics I'd like you to cover in terms of isolation are technology, social media, and occupation. All right. All three are combined where you will increasingly have more and more people working from home, which is a good thing. Less pollution, less traffic, less car accidents, lower insurance rates, less transportation budget. I think happier, stronger, more stable families. But like social media and technology, it has allowed it to have this effective digital world. The digital world is not the same as the real world, and human beings need the real world. I have gone when I have turned off, even though it's key to my business, I have turned off the social media on my phone. I will not answer, and only once per night I will go online and do my social media that is necessary, and then I am done. Increasingly more, the bigger threat, I think, is working from home, not leaving the house, and not having this schedule or routine. You can, again, try to make up for that, meetup groups, social life, stuff like that, but as people get, I'm tired, and that starts to decay, I think there's a future in, what do they call them, not embryos, incubator. I'm going to take a look at the time. Okay, I got time to shower. I got to go golf in a little bit. Incubator buildings, where you go and you rent an office. Not that you need the office, you got your home office. It's just to go and talk to people at the water cooler. That's what that is for. So I think tops like to come in terms of technical social media occupation. I think social media and technology will free you from the shackles of a physical job and career, but they will also entrap you in the digital world where you'll be like, I gotta get out, I gotta go do something else. So the balance I have not figured out yet. The problem I face is I would drop money in half a second to have an incubator office. The problem is with me yelling and screaming, I'd have to soundproof my office. People would look at me like, what the fuck is that guy doing? He's just an asshole. Very loud one. And so I don't think I could go to an incubator office. But that'd be just some thoughts and experiences on how to best shield yourself from general bullshit that will come from living life in a developed country. Tune off the news. Do not watch the news, man. Do not watch the news. It's not good. Read the book, Enjoy the Decline. I think you already got that. Yeah, Enjoy the Decline. Spend time with your friends. You got to get a good group of friends or have a family that you really enjoy, which is hard too. You don't really guarantee your family's going to grow up right. Just don't. You got to interact with society and meet space somehow. Otherwise, you're just going to become this digital heroin addict. You're just sitting there on the internet. You're not stepping outside. It's like the movie Surrogates with Bruce Willis. But the paradox minimalists are going to face is that the vast majority of humans are not worth hanging out with. But you got to go out there and sift through all the shit to find, like a dog, it'll go through its own shit, and then it finds a piece of kernel of corn it didn't digest before, and it'll eat that piece of corn. That's what it's like today. You get to sift through shit to find an undigested kernel of corn so that you might have and you know what? That kernel of corn is very precious because it's not shit. So I've really stopped paying attention to the news. Sometimes it's almost impossible. And I go out and enjoy days. I move to where the climate is warm. But the key thing is to find good quality people. And that is a lifelong endeavor. That is, you're going to spend just as much time doing that as you are hitting the gym. And lower your expectations. Do not get excited. Do not get excited. But to shield yourself from general bullshit that comes with living in a developed country, make sure the people you hang out with, your microenvironment, the people you hang out with are high quality. That's the number one thing to do. Finally, do you think we as an intelligent people would be better off and happier moving to an Italian village that doesn't have the internet, sitting outside a cafe, sipping lattes and playing chess? Key thing, we as intelligent people, yes, I think it wouldn't necessarily be playing chess. I mean, the modern day version of that is old men go to McDonald's and have coffee in the morning. They do that to give each other guff and shit. They don't go there because McDonald's has really great coffee or the senior discount. I think for intelligent people, the old men spreading their wisdom at 6 a.m. at McDonald's, yes, you would be. Because it's the other fellow human minds you like to interact and engage with. It's not the act of sipping lattes or playing chess. Although you get to talk smack if you beat the guy in chess, so that's kind of good. But for the rest of society, no. I mean, you got to keep in mind, if someone's just born right now, they can be brought up in a society where you would appreciate it if you had nuclear families, you had parents. We taught minimalism, or at least budgeting. We taught the value of humans as opposed to things. We taught the value of love as opposed to careers and education. Look at me, I sound like some pussy liberal from the 1960s. Dude, man, all we need is love. If we taught that, future generations, quote, all of society, or not all of society, but most of society could go and live. That would be a preferable environment. Now, people are so set in their ways now. I mean, how do you look at the Gen Zers? Try to take the internet away from them. The internet has been with them ever since they were born. Smartphones have been in their hands since they were functional. There'd have to be a huge deprogramming and detoxification, whatever, de-internet, de-digitalization of their lives to get them back into the analog world. And yes, now you're going to have conversation. Now have them understand why you have conversation, why you should go outside and play. No, grab your cousin Jimmy and go outside and play. Be back before the night lights go on. If the night lights are on for about half an hour and you're not back, well, then you're in trouble. You know, those kind of old rules that the kids used to play with back in the 80s, which was a great and wonderful and idyllic time, except for the whole latchkey kid thing. But aside from that, it was cool to go out and play. Go off some sweet jumps with your BMX bike. That was cool. You'd have to get a whole other new generation. But the millennials, I'd say the Gen Xers to a certain extent, and certainly the Gen Zers have been plugged in too damn long, and have certainly grown to be too materialistic, have taken on way too much in debt that now they are wage slaves, that the concept of minimalism and sipping lattes and drinking wine and playing chess at the local cafe is it's a treat. It's a vacation. That's not the real life. The real life is working on a heart attack in New York traffic. That's what their life is. So I don't think they're capable of unplugging and then going back to an analog life. But if we had started teaching the next generation of kids, hey, no, it's very important to talk to grandma, and no, you go outside and play. No, you know, I honestly would. Like if I had, I got a buddy. He's got a daughter and a girlfriend, and they only have flip phones. Oh man, I just want to make several $1 million. I want one of my videos to go viral. I want everyone to hire. That's what I was hoping to do with Zebra Corner. And then I'd have this big payday, and dude, first thing I'd do is get rid of my damn smartphone. I would never have that shit fucking ever again. I'd write the occasional book, I'd do podcasts, but I'd never use Twitter or Facebook to do any press releases ever again. I have my flip phone, call me. No, you can't even text me, you gotta fucking call me. I'd do that in half a second, man, yeah. But I'll tell you this, there ain't gonna be anyone else there. Not in our generation, not at our age, not gonna happen. So I wish I was a little bit more optimistic, but yeah, it is a battle. It is a battle being a minimalist, especially as more and more debt is accrued, more and more wage slaves are made, more and more materialism and prestige is embedded and programmed into kids' minds and then adults' minds. They're thinking that's what they need and want. You're not going to find your people. Because your people don't exist. They're just not there, man. So, wish it was better. Wish it was a different way around, but it's not. The society has not been programmed to appreciate other people, conversation, and above all else, their time and freedom. They are programmed to like things and status and prestige and their fucking master's degrees, and then that comes with it. They just don't. All right. So questions, answers, AsselConsulting.com. Check out my links below to all the books and all the things. He was very smart. John was very smart. He bought and read 6 books. You should all go do the same. And here's another one. Speaking of minimalism, if you guys want to read, this is shockingly surprising. It's not here. The one that would most corroborate with this gentleman's request would be the book Poor Richard's Retirement, because it teaches you that if you don't need the fucking shit, then you don't need that much money for retirement. You would like that one. That's the one you should read. All right, that's it. All that stuff, links down below. We'll see you later. Toodles.